Okay, so when it comes to all or any type of fish, okay, what's the problem that they have to deal with while they're in water? Typically, you might say, well, they can swim like a fish, or it's really easy for a fish to swim, but is that necessarily the case? Are they naturally buoyant in water, is my question. Whether it's your perch you looked at yesterday or the sharks you looked at yesterday or last week, they float in water. They do, but not naturally. Okay. So what is it that sharks will do to compensate for their being heavier than water? Three things. Okay, that would propel them forward. Yes, that's true. So, but yes, they're going to continue moving, but it's going to be an exterior appendage that's going to help them stay afloat. Yes, the pectoral fins, which will actually create lift. Then, then you need to look on the inside for sharks. And what would that be? Certainly the liver. And then the big question, there's something about that liver. It has squalene on it. It's an oily compound that will help them with their buoyancy. Now, with bony fish then, okay, some of you were actually able to locate that yesterday, the swim bladder, which I don't think I could have identified. And that's a unique story about, could you repeat that? Is it down at depth, you catch a fish, and that's actually out of their mouth?
And that's more of like ocean fishing.
Okay.
Some people, when they catch fish at the bottom of the ocean and they pull to the top, the swim bladder will be poking out of his mouth. The pressure change. There's less pressure, so it's more gas.
And that's got to be so quick for them,
Oh, yeah.
changing that. Okay. But what I question about that is if fish can swim fast in water, they're certainly changing their depths, but they're mechanically doing it. They're not on a hook on a line that's actually pulling them up, I suppose. I wouldn't picture that happens with freshwater fish.
Probably not.
It's just not deep enough.
Maybe like salmon at the bottom of the river in the Missouri River, but that's probably about it.
Okay.
If that.
Otherwise, that would be more local. Of course, I think if you're on Lake Michigan or Lake Superior, which I don't know what the depths of those are. I want to say 500 feet, maybe even deeper than that. Okay, but what we see, all fishes are slightly heavier than water. So we had discussed that. So this gas-filled space, okay, is going to help them with their buoyancy. If that gas-filled space, swim bladder, or whichever, if that is totally compressed, what's the animal doing? Floating or sinking? Why are you right? Do you think? Well, looks okay. So if it's compressed and it's sinking, which you're right, what happens when that gets filled with air? We know that that's going up. Just think of filling up a balloon that's increasing that surface area to push it upwards. Okay, so moving on. So this is possibly what Mr. Wagner's talking about, these complications on ascending. If it descends to a greater depth, okay, bladder's compressed. As a result, the fish becomes heavier and tends to sink. So just the opposite would take place if they are coming upwards too fast. They can't regulate that quick enough to get that swim bladder or that air out of their swim bladder. When we look at, if you want to say information about depths of the Great Lakes, quick go to Google. Does that mean you get different types of, hey, take a trip to Lake Michigan or to Milwaukee or something like that? Okay.
But Lake Superior, you get 1,300 feet deep.
Oh my gosh.
That's the deepest.
Okay. Huh. But you would presume that that's lethal.
Yeah, usually kills them.
Huh. I did not think that would happen with freshwater fish.
Yeah, me neither.
That's a fake. Oh, that certainly looks real.
Yeah, I think it is. There's a bunch of them.
Okay. Because I'm thinking there's probably one or two questions on your papers. I'd have to look to see once what the due date, because I think I signed them last week. I'm thinking, what did we maybe say, the 26th? I don't know. I'd have to go back to plan book to see that. Okay. So again, what we're talking about, when fish are at depth and when they are coming upwards, whether you could say whether it wants to or not, if it's on a hook, that means that swim bladder is going to continually expand. Okay, that's if it's on a hook. If it wants to do it naturally, it'll expand that swim bladder, and it makes it lighter than water, and then allows it to go up. Okay. So then, what that picture was illustrating, not everyone had seen that. It's a picture of a walleye, that gas gland is out of its mouth, because this is certainly a complication that it would have. And yes, that would be lethal to the animal. And then I wonder how quick is that. Okay, I have no idea. So then, again, when it's doing this continual expansion, it's going up. And that's not the size I would have pictured that bladder being. That was huge coming out of that walleye's mouth. Okay. Because I know next hour is a big hour for everyone. Well, not everybody involved in here, but okay. I just want to get through this natural buoyancy, which would be 1, 2, 3. Man, there's a lot more than I thought. Okay. Okay. Can someone think of a pneumatic tool? You know this, you just don't know you know it. Anybody think of a pneumatic tool? This would be a clue. I got to take this thing home because I've probably been looking for it for a long time. Rather than tools running on these, what might drive that tool? whether it's a wrench or whether it's a nail gun. Carpenters use them all the time.
Race car tire guys.
Race car tire guys. Yes. Yeah. What's driving that wrench? Again, this is something you know, you just don't know you know it. You're going to say, I knew that. I don't know if that's a tough question. Bzz, 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 bzz. That's what it sounds like. Close. Yeah, yeah, you can have pneumatic drills. Yes. It's not what I would have thought of. Impact wrenches and nail guns, okay, are driven by air pressure does that, okay? So then when we're talking about the pneumatic duct, no surprise, we're talking about the amount of air that is regulated going in and out of that swim bladder. All right. So the author talks about this. These are what we call pelagic fish, I believe, that don't have a swim bladder. So what we mean is they must come to the surface to gulp air to charge their swim bladder, which means I would presume, just like, have you ever had what feels like some stomach distress? So then you gulp some air, and rather than just being a little bloop, it's bloop sound, then you feel a lot better. Okay. So what we're talking about here, that was pretty good, wasn't it? Does that sound familiar? And commenting from experience? No, I thought we said no. All right. Because some of the ladies are pretty good about doing that too. And then, so you're nodding your head, yes. Oh, sorry. It's all good. We're a good sport. Okay. Yeah. So what I would be led to believe, they must gulp this air so they can actually stay up at the surface because, again, fish are heavier than water. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to do this slide and then the next one. I want to get through that structure called a reet mirable. I see that's coming up next. Oh, did you find a due date for that?
I did not. It didn't show any on.
It wouldn't be this week, it would be last week.
Yeah, the week of the 7th. Well, I might be one.
I think that might be too far back.
Yeah. Oh, 24th. Yep.
Yeah, we're not going to collect them tomorrow. So we'll shoot for Friday. I think we'll be able to get that out of the way. But how about we just ask, excuse me, how about we just ask you, We have an evaluation scheduled for tomorrow. It doesn't matter to me. Would you rather have that on Thursday? And it's not the idea of, oh gosh, I haven't looked at that yet. That's not the reason I think we would say push it back. Okay? We're all busy, and tonight would be no exception. So that's the point I'm getting at. If we push that to Thursday instead and flip-flop the days, maybe that's more beneficial for you. Does Thursday work better? Okay. So 1 yes, 4 no's. Oh, yep. Okay, so get in on this auction. Okay, yeah, we can do that on Thursday then instead. Okay. All right. So the way that I like to describe this, rather than looking at this yet, okay, I think this makes the most sense when we talk about penguins, and you're thinking, what does penguins have to do with fish? Nothing, really. But the structure we're about to talk about inside does, okay? And also in humans, it kind of works the same way. It's not that penguins' feet need to keep that warm. That's not what we mean by, what do you suppose, a counter current exchange system. I think we talk about that in anatomy and physiology when we talk about circulation, because that's what we're making reference to here. Okay? So, for instance, if you are running a counter play in football, what does that mean?
The guard's pulling.
Right? My estimation is, doesn't it mean it's a fake going this way, and then the guard's pulling, like you say, but you're not going this way, you're going that way. You're going the opposite direction. So what we mean by here is with heat flow. How does heat go from cold to hot or hot to cold? So keep that in mind. If you have a nice warm hand and you go out there and put that on the hood of your car and just leave your hand there for a few minutes, what's your hand going to feel like? It's going to feel cold. So the heat flow is going from hot to cold. That's how that works. So what that means then is, it's not that penguins' feet need to be kept warm. That's not what we're getting at. But for anyone ridden on a bus, okay, even for my case when we're driving, what do your feet feel like? Say that again? Yeah, because what's happening is the floor is sucking the heat right out of your feet. So then, what do you think would happen if that blood is, it's not that it's extremely cold, but it's cooler than normal. But what would happen if that blood rushed back to your heart and it's cold? That's not good for your heart. It could possibly send you into shock. But it's because of how, we could say, the man upstairs designed us, is that for every large artery you have going down through your legs, just like with that of penguins. Now, arteries is that blood that's going through your core, then goes down through your legs. Is that going to be hot, warm, or cold? It's probably not going to be hot, but it's certainly not cold either. So as that blood is going down to your feet, or down to these penguins' feet, okay, so hot/warm blood is going down, you have a vein that's right next to it coming back towards your heart. What is that heat from the artery going to do next to the vein? How does heat flow from what to what? hot to cold. So the temperature here is going to be absorbed by the vein that's coming back, and that's going to help warm that blood before it gets back to the heart. That's what we mean by a counter current exchange system. Okay, it means it's moving in the opposite direction, because what we see here, okay, we call this, I thought it said that up. Yeah, functions as a counter current exchange system to trap gases, okay, especially oxygen, okay. And it's just a grouping of capillaries, like it says, whether they're, you could say they're a bunch of arteries, and I think that's what's depicted in your textbook. Let's see once. So, oh, I grabbed that's why our page numbers never matched up yesterday. I was looking at it, I said, Mr. Wagner, can't you read numbers? But, okay. No, this would have the same content in it, okay? So what we're looking at here, okay, is it's something that you can find that picture, but in your book.
Okay.
Should be somewhere around 315 or so.
326 for the church, so sure. 316.
Nope, yeah, it'd be,
Just pass this.
yeah, keep going. It's got to be somewhere on that. Yep, there we go. On page 3, what?
32.
Okay, gee, that was way off. 332, okay? And then it just illustrates that here, what we just talked about. You probably can't see that, but this is a different edition, okay? And then, okay? And then again, what it does, whether it's heat or in this case it's oxygen, that gets trapped, and then what that can do is help adjust the volume of gas for these fish, okay? So again, rather than sending that oxygen into circulation, the structure grabs that to help regulate their depth, okay? Because, okay, how would this get into, whether it's in their bloodstream from their gills, or from gills into the swim bladder, okay? How does oxygen move? From this to this, but what type of process is that? Going from high to low. Don't say it like a question. Yeah, diffusion, okay? Just diffuse, no, that's just what it sounded like. I can't take credit for that. It's a movie called The Rookie. If you know who Dennis Quaid is. And what we're talking about, this rookie, he's actually a science teacher in Texas. It's based off of a true story. And again, he's a chemistry teacher, and they're talking about the nucleus of atoms. And he asks a student, and they say, nucleus? And he says, well, don't say it like a question. That's where that comes from. I'm not smart enough to take that or come up with that myself, but that's where that comes from. Okay, so we will pick up with this tomorrow, this respiration. We're winding down pretty quick, okay? And then vocabulary evaluation on Thursday, not Wednesday. And then we should be able to wrap this up on Friday. So then next week we'll start reviewing on Friday probably. Review on Monday, and then 2-part exam on Tuesday and Wednesday. Then we better find Nemo, and then at that time, when we come back after a week, it'll be your turn, Mr. Wagner. Okay, so we will catch up to you next time.